Us out yesterday. Hey man, what's going on?
How are you? I'm gonna put on my lights for a moment, so give me a moment. Hold
No worries. You do your thing. You do you. I'm listening to the specials.
on. So
Hey, I
you're
was
in
telling,
my
I
over
was, I
home.
was like, we have a little cool. So we have a little thing where we usually like play music that's appropriate to the guest. Today, I just went with
Yes.
the specials because it seems like a message to you, Rudy, kind of afternoon. Because it's been one of those days around here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm happy. Right now, I am packing as we speak. So I'm obviously taking a bit of a break from all the craziness and to be part of this show. And thank you for having me on the show. I'm very, very humbled that I'm chosen to be in your special in your show. Thank you.
No worries. Hey, so I was just
Anytime.
watching your Instagram story from yesterday, I guess, of your new space.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's been crazy. I found out literally just 2 weeks ago. It's going really fast. Yeah.
Cool.
I am.
And I know
Yeah. Did it freeze? Sorry about that.
I can't tell if it's me or you, but anyway, we'll plow on.
Okay. Well, what's your
I think
question
it
for
might be
me?
me. Hold on. I nothing. I don't know. The only thing I noticed was like you're gonna need a bigger sink.
Yeah. My boyfriend told me the same thing. Just like, honey, I think we need to have like another station. I'm like, you know what? We'll figure it
This
out. At least it's a washer and there's a washer, which is good.
That's cool, but like I don't know how you're gonna fit like the guitar frame when you need to
I know.
wash the guitar in the sink. And I know you just got a new guitar too from Deddy.
Yeah, so Didi or Deddy, actually, I found them online, and so I bought one of their large cutters, and that's what I use for cutting my petafui. And it's large,
Right.
and I have four frames and everything. So yes, you're right about that. So we were thinking of getting a three-compartment system that's portable that we could might maybe move around and navigate through in the loft. But there's definitely some modifications that needs to take place when we move in this weekend. A lot, actually.
You'll get there.
One step at a time. Yeah, we're excited. It's in the middle of downtown LA on 7th and Main. I am a few blocks away from Bottega Louie, a few minutes away from all my suppliers for packaging and chocolates and whatnot. And I'm really just so excited. 20-foot ceilings, a lot of space. So I have a life, my life is separated from work, and I'll have a lot of workspace for the chocolate making.
Right. So everybody can go over and check out that story on your Albert's Petite Suites Instagram page. It's probably there for another like 15 minutes. I don't know. I don't know when you put it up, but anyway. Hey,
Crazy.
so we were talking. You and I talked a little bit yesterday, and a little get to know you, and you haven't always done chocolate. That wasn't your original gig. So
No.
why don't we why don't we rewind a little bit because like we skipped ahead to this new space and new equipment and all this new stuff, and why don't we rewind a little bit? And I asked, where you were from. I started yesterday with, hey, where are you from, right? Because are you a Southern California guy? And you're like, no way, man, not
Yeah.
originally.
Yeah, originally, and answering that question, originally I'm from the Philippines. My family moved here to the States
Right.
1987, and I was 9 years old. And so, obviously, being as an immigrant and being Filipino, what was expected of me was to be a nurse or a doctor or an accountant. And so, I studied to become a rec therapist, where I provide therapy in a form of recreation for children with disabilities and geriatrics. So, I moved to Southern California in LA to study rec therapy. I graduated under the umbrella of recreation, and my calling went to personal training. So I became a personal trainer for about 14 years. My last job was I was an Equinox trainer in Equinox in Redondo Beach, Manhattan Beach area, and then I saw cake pops, at a local coffee shop. I think, I want to make that for my clients as a gift. And I started about that 10 years ago. I knew nothing about baking. I knew nothing about confections, and I made it. And then it started to escalate. My first customer was Michael Strahan in the morning show because Michael Strahan used to work out at the gym. And so he said, "Hey, you're the K-pop guy." I'm like, "Dude, you're Michael Strahan." So like, yeah, I want you to do my Christmas party. I'm like, "No way." I'm like, "Okay." And so I do it, and I cater to him. Word spread around. I did a design for Lady Antebellum and Bruce Springsteen during the Grammys. And then my boss, Latrial Mitchell, is Michael Strahan's personal trainer at the gym. So at the time, Michael Strahan is about to replace Regis at the Regis and Kelly show. And so Latrial was going to follow him, and she was my mentor. She was my friend. She said, "Albert, I have something to tell you. I'm leaving the industry. I'm leaving Equinox, and I think that you should follow your passion, your dream." I'm like, "What's that?" "Chocolate making." I'm like, "I'm so new. I don't even know what I'm doing." So Albert, you just landed 3 celebrities in a matter of a year, and you don't even know what you're doing. Imagine when you know what you're doing. I'm like, "Okay." So I quit the job. I became a teacher, and then my chocolate journey started, and I started making K-pops for about 10 years. And it was just a year ago I converted from compound chocolates to couverture chocolates, tempering chocolates, and now it's skyrocketing even more, catering to a lot of celebrities, big companies, Disney, Marvel, and so forth.
Right. But I mean, like you've evolved too. I mean, you obviously evolved from ingredient side, but you've really evolved so that like chocolate's your thing now, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
there's a lot less baking, there's a lot less of that other stuff, and there's a lot more. I know you do a lot of posting about sort of that journey into pâte à fouille or those journeys into new things,
Yeah,
right? I
you're right.
mean, that's got to be. I mean, they're obviously I'm watching names scroll, right? So I'm watching like who's here, and there've been a bunch of confectioners here, and we all know
Yeah.
those things aren't. I mean, they're not the easiest things, right? I mean, like they're not necessarily easy things to teach ourselves, right? Like
Correct.
there's a ton of information out there, but like getting it right is a whole nother thing, right? I mean, like
Correct.
getting pâte à fouille to work the first time, just as an example, is not easy,
Well, I'm going to
right?
be transparent with you. One of my masters is actually Chris Harvey. Chris Harvey is one of my masters, as well as Melissa Coppell. And so throughout my chocolate journey, obviously, it was a year ago, or 2019, right before the pandemic, one of my friends fled Chocolatier. And what does that entail? I need to take a real class. I mean, it's one thing to take online, but I need to know like hands-on because it's different from hands-on as opposed to reading a book, right? And so I saw Melissa Capel. I've been eyeing
Right.
her for 3, 4 years before that story. And then I was very blessed. He paid for 2 of my courses. I went there for a crash course of 3 days, both in November and October, and I was lost. I didn't know how to temper. I didn't know how everything was measured in Celsius. Everything was in grams. I didn't know what emulsifying meant or deglazing. So I was lost and I asked a ton of questions. I'm pretty sure I annoyed a lot of my classmates, but I was determined to learn. I'm like, hey, if I'm spending $1,500 on a 3-day course, I don't care if I annoy you. I'm going to get whatever I want because I need to learn because I want to be good at what I
Right.
do. And so that was 2019, 2020, I believe, or Chris Harvey saw my posts and things, and we became kind of our paths crossed in some shape or form. And so the crazy thing is, I used to be a trainer, and so now it's a pandemic, we're all isolated, and Chris said, how about this? Let's make a deal. You you train me because my gyms are closed, and I'll teach you basics. I'm all like, what do you need to learn? I'm like, I want to learn how to temper because I'm confused for what's going on. And so we met 3 times. I train him. I'll train him for an hour. He'll show me the basics in an hour. And what I love about Chris Harvey is the fact that he simplified what he did. And I'm not saying anything negative about Melissa. I think she's amazing. But there was a lot of steps, so much I didn't know where to start, right? Chris explained it to me literally in 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, so that's it, Albert. Don't overcomplicate it. That's it. So I did it, and I started making it, and he just let me go. And then I started like, holy crap, this is really happening. And so with his, short amount of teachings, I started to venture out and let me experiment. So I started looking at, like Pat Flea, one of my colleagues in Europe, basically gave me like a recipe book on different boiron recipes and pectin and citric acid ratios, and I just experimented. 2 months ago, my aunt died of lung cancer, and her favorite flavor was mango. So I went on a rampage. I bought literally like 8 flavors of purees. I'm like, I'm not gonna stop until I master this, and it's kept on going. And then now it's almost second nature for me. So I'm doing a lot better with in regards to production.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually got off of a Zoom call that I was invited to talk to a bunch of students with a couple other people from the industries, and like hopped right on this call, and like that was sort of the first part of that Zoom call with people that were new to the industry. And I read a book a couple years back that was about 10,000 hours, and it said basically, hey, we can become an expert at anything, right? If we give it 10,000 hours. So
Correct.
what's that? That's 5 years, right? I mean,
Yes.
I'm doing the math, right? Like 2,000 hours a year. Anyway, I'm close. Um,
Yeah.
and we were talking about tempering in particular. And, you know, I I really love tempering on the marble. It's like one of my things, right? It's when I don't know what else to do and I'm having a bad day, I'll throw chocolate on the marble and I'll temper it. And um, one of these students is like, I hate tempering. It never works for me. Like, how do you get to there? And my only response was, you got to practice. You got to decide that
Yes.
you want to do it, and then
Correct.
do it, right? And you got to do it until you get it right, and then you can set it aside, right? And I think
Correct.
patafui, making a ganache, tempering, fill in the blank in this industry is um, is that, right? It's like it's constantly like learning and getting better and all that stuff. And I don't remember where I was going with that now because it's been one of those days. But I mean, I think you talked about your what you've been able to do in a really short amount of time. That obviously has to be because you're really passionate about what you do, in addition to having connections or whatever. I
Definitely.
mean, I don't know how you feel
Yeah.
about that.
One of the things, I agree with you. For example, when I was working with, Chris, I mean, he only had an hour or two with me and then he had to go, obviously, because he also has to run his own business too as well, but then one of the things that he told me, which I'm a believer on, as a personal trainer of 15 years, you can read all the books that you want, but you got to apply all your knowledge and you got to practice and put in the work. It's one thing to know how scientifically reading how a muscle contraction works, and one thing for you to really feel it. Same exact thing, muscle memory. When you're doing patafui by the sight, sometimes you can just tell it's ready. Or like certain kind of chocolates, you know what? It's time. Take it out of the heat, or add on this, modify that. So with tempering, right? I didn't know how to temper, right? When I went to Melissa's class, I didn't know what it was, and so my boyfriend, he's a very technical guy. He knows science. So if he knows the rules and guidelines, he'll work with it. He was actually the one who helped me temper, who taught me how to temper better and more efficiently. So, for example, right? So let's deal with Calibo milk chocolates, right? So we melt it to 45 degrees Celsius, right? And they break down the molecules. And so, Albert, I had this warmer, and I was using this, warmer and spatula. I'm mixing it, mixing it, mixing it. And so we just need to hit the temperatures, 45, break it down, bring it to 27, 31, maybe 32, right? I'm like, yeah. So like, when we do a bag technique, well, what is that? So what he taught me was, and we did it really fast. I would melt, let's say, 2,000 grams of milk chocolate in a bowl, right? I put a portion that, half of that, maybe in a large piping bag. So large piping bag, seal it up, and I would just get ice from the refrigerator and just roll it on top and massage it. I'm just like doing. I'm like rolling it like a dough, and I would mix it, roll it with a dough, and then now when I brought it down to 27, I will put it in a larger bowl, get the hotter bunch of chocolate, pour it in like clockwork. It always worked, and it was tempered. I'm like, I've never seen that before. So just because it's not what the masters teach or what you see in books, you have to. And my way of sharing this is because of my point of sharing this is that you have to experiment what works for you. There may be books that tells you how to temper. There may be books how to tell you how to make certain things. But as long as you hit the certain requirements of the recipe, you can make up the rest on your own and do what works for you. And that's what I've done in my business.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like you've done that in life. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into that. I mean, I think that, from your bio, I got to read your bio and I got to hear a little bit about your story. I mean, I think what's interesting is we all get there. It's funny, Carrie just said there's more than one way to skin a cat. And yeah, that was very briefly about what I was
Yes,
about to
Gary
say.
V.
Um, we have to find our own way, right? And I think there are an awful lot of people making some really great chocolate in the world, in particular, and in North America right now.
Yeah.
And but we don't all have to do it the same way, we don't all have to we don't have to make the same flavors, we don't all have to have the same process, we don't all have to have the same equipment, right?
Correct.
And we can get there. Chris, who you mentioned, is hopefully I consider a pretty good friend, right? I don't know what he says about me, but Chris and I are
Yeah.
pretty good friends, right? And Chris is actually going to be here with us next week, and I like spending time with Chris because he has a really different perspective on a lot of stuff, like on business, on chocolate, on pastry, and you know, I don't necessarily have to learn from him at the marble when he's here. We
Correct.
can kind of go over stuff and just talk about stuff. I mean, there are people in this industry that I just love hanging out with because of
Correct.
stuff that you're talking about, right? That
Correct.
it's not always about a recipe. I want to learn about how you think about making something,
Correct.
right?
And
Because
what I
maybe
love
there's
about
something
that,
there for me.
correct. What I like about that's the fact that when people come from different facets in backgrounds, it brings in this collaborative unity of knowledge, and you get to kind of pick and choose what's applicable to you. Like for example, I didn't come from a world. I'm not classically trained. I didn't go to school for confections. Even though, like for example, in my bio, I went to Escoffier. I'm not bagging on Escoffier, okay? So as my bad experience at Escoffier. So 10 years ago, it was an online course. I paid $2,000 to pay for it, and then I went online, and you create your niche, you take a headshot of it, and you make it. A professor, looks over your materials, and so after I was in it for about a month, I landed a gig with Disney for a project. So my cake pop business started to just kind of escalate a little bit. The instructor said, "Hey, focus on that." So I did. So a few years later on, when I come back to getting back to Escoffier, they changed the program, and my 2000 investment went down the drain. I couldn't take any courses. I couldn't get into anything. And so in my bio, it says I was classically trained there, but it took a few weeks of lessons, but the rest
Right.
I'm self-taught. Coming from a world of, being a home baker and being a personal trainer, I look at things differently, and because I have to teach myself differently, even making a cake pop, I don't make cake pops conventionally like normal people do it. I do it my own way because I taught myself. And then when people see this, oh, it's different and unique. I was like, how does that work for you? Then I get to share and teach that knowledge to others.
So, full disclosure, you just joined Team Sell Me. We'll get you your logo for your coat later. But
My God, that's awesome.
you've adopted you've adopted a tool, right, that is close to my heart, right? I mean, close to
Oh,
my heart.
yes. Oh,
Um, you know, because it would seem to me that you've had the ability to kind of figure stuff out and find what are the right tools for what you want to, where you want to go, right? So like,
Correct.
you know, we sort of the goal here of this program was to really kind of like talk to chocolatiers and like kind of like find similarities and find those things that we're talking about, right? Like what
Of course.
what do I want to take from somebody and what can I leave? And that doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just I'm going to leave it on the table
Of
for
course.
somebody else to pick up later.
Of course.
You know, you're about to not have to worry about tempering to a certain degree. I mean, you're still going to have to worry about it, but you're not going to have to
Yeah.
like you're not going to be there with the thermometer and the heat gun and the hey, hopefully, right? I mean,
Correct.
and you've made an investment, a pretty significant investment. Fair.
Yeah, that's years of, and it's actually even a small story to that one because I saw your machine. I think I was inspired with your machine maybe about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I saw it on YouTube. I think Tickle Me Sweets, or it was one of Oprah's favorites in New York, and she had this machine. So I've been
Right.
an intern for 3 days. The owner of La Grande Confectionery in Sacramento. I met her at the San Francisco food show. Mary Shaw and Jack Shaw were the owners of this chocolate factory, and then we became
Right.
friends. And I said, "Hey, why don't you come over to our place and we'll teach you how to temper and we'll teach you how to make chocolate." In Sacramento for about 3, 4 days, and this kind of was a free employee. I'm like, hey, I'm all yours for 8 to 10 hours. Whatever you want me to do, I'm all yours. So I was, the tempering things by hand. They had this huge machinery, and I mentioned about your machine. I'm like, I want to be able to make these shiny, jewel-like bonbons. How's that even possible? How do you even start? So they're kind of navigating me throughout the whole process. So I've been saving, and then when Tarmac, you guys have now are selling Sell Me machinery, and I saw the price. I'm like, you know what? It's time. And so I pulled the trigger and invested. But I think even now having this investment, I think it's also important to know the foundation and the basics. It's like saying I have a calculator now, so I know how to do math, but you still have to do the basic math in case this breaks. You should still be knowledgeable.
Yeah, and back to what I was just doing. Like that was where that whole tempering conversation was.
Yeah.
Like first trade show with Selmy and Tomrick. This is longer ago than I want to admit. So we go and like I'm like explaining the machine and the functionality of the machine, and this woman looks at me and goes, I don't really care how it works. I just want to know that it works. And I'm like, okay.
It works.
And I turned off the non-salesperson in me and said, all right, cool. But inside, I want to know why it does what it does, and I want to make sure that I'm not worried about it breaking as much as I think it's part of who we are. If we call ourselves a chocolatier or we call ourselves a chocolate maker, we need to understand those things. Like we don't have to dig in and be like, I understand the propagation of beta crystals in a system that, right, which I can do. Like, don't get me wrong, I can have that conversation
I'm not in
with
that
you.
level. I'm not even
Right.
there. That's all you.
There's a bunch of people on here that can, so I don't want to go too bad because there are people that know way more than me that I saw their names scroll by. But I damn well better be able to melt chocolate and get it in the condition that I wanted to get it into on a Thursday afternoon at 2:00 when my machine is unplugged. Like,
Yes.
sorry, like I just got up on my soapbox, but like,
I love it.
and like, and if you're not interested in that, maybe you should be doing something else that you're that interested in, that you're that passionate about, that you
Correct.
love that much.
Yes.
That like you've told me like 3 stories here where you worked for free to learn
Yes.
something, right?
Yes.
And that's a lesson that I think is lost on people. Like, you know what? This industry, people will give you information for free, but you got to pony up too.
Yes.
Like
Agreed.
you gotta have some skin. You gotta have a little skin in the game. Like,
Correct. And
just because it's on Instagram doesn't mean I'm going to give it to you.
yes.
I don't know. Maybe I'm in a bad mood today.
No, but for example, I think sometimes when people are on Instagram or social media, it's like, oh, hey, give me the recipe for that. I'm like, I think it's important to establish some type of a rapport, right? Because we have worked, you know, hours of experimentation, buying equipment, buying materials, trial and error. Oh God, I messed it up. Here's $20 on the drain. You messed it up 5 times. You just spent $100, and then God knows how many hours, right? Or potential income that you could have done or experimenting. So now you've mastered a specific recipe. You've mastered something. And like, oh, I want a recipe. Here it is. No, I don't know you. I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but at the same time, it's like, but I think at the same time, there should be a happy medium of, you know what? I think you're deserving. I think that you're putting in the work, you doing the homework, but let me make your life a little bit easier than I've done that before. To where, like, I remember when I entered the K-pop world, people are asking me, I was asking people, hey, you don't know me, but I am very passionate. I didn't even know where to start from getting the best price sticks, best price bags. I didn't even know these packaging. There's 1,000 packaging companies. I don't know where to go. And so there was people in my life that was really kind of say, hey, Albert, go to the San Francisco trade show. What I love about that was these people gave me tools, but it still made me work for it, right? And I think, and I'm older, even though I look younger. I'm 44 in the end of this year, and I think that's the younger
You're
generation or the
still
people
younger,
part of the
Albert. Albert, you're still
okay, good.
younger.
Okay, good. Thank you. And so I think sometimes people are missing they want to become insta famous and insta big. Nothing in life is instant because the minute you instantly get it, it's the instant you will lose it because you don't know how to navigate through the logistics of how to handle it. You know, so
Yeah.
now my little soapbox, right? So just giving recipes right away. I'm like, well, I need to know that you're putting in the work.
I'll get down here. I'll get off my
The
here. You can have the
assignments.
chair. You can have the soapbox.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, but for me, talking about passion, right? So this is what I definitely want to put focus on. In anything that you do in your life, that's the one thing I have put in my heart and soul into this journey. And I will, if I can look back and do it again, I'll do it again, including the pain, including the suffering, because it taught me how to have thick skin. It taught me to grow some balls. It taught me how to be a better person, not only in business, but also in relationships and in life. Because what you do in one thing is what you do almost in everything. And that shows. I love this industry. And if money didn't matter, I would be doing it. Because there are times, I was broke. I lived, so when I lost my home in 2012, when the market crashed, it was a really sad story. I was a teacher for a college, and I took a break to Australia for 3 weeks, so spring break or holiday break. I come back, the owners of the school bankrupt, so I came home to no job, lost all my benefits. I got the news through CNN, through a news channel in Australia. So then my student said, hey, Albert, the school's shutting down. You have to go home. I'm like, I'm in Australia. I'm not going to go home. I go home, lost my job, lost my income, lost my benefits. A drunk driver went through the alley, plowed into my garage. I came home to a totaled car. It was a month before Valentine's Day, and I'm about to make cake pops for, Valentine's Day. So then the same week, my landlord says, hey, Albert, I have some bad news for you. Like, what? My wife and I are having a divorce, and we have to sell your apartment. So you have to move out. So now I have no home. I'm like, great. Awesome. Okay, Albert, you have a choice. Everyone said you're not going to make it. Everyone says that you're not going to be a chocolatier or cake bake maker or cake pop maker. So just quit. This is a good sign from the Lord and universe. Just quit. But a part of me says, you know what? Sink or swim. This is probably the universe's way of saying, Albert, how bad do you want change? So with whatever I had left in that house, I sold, I sacrificed, and for 3 years, I moved into my friend's room. And it was humbling because I was successful at the time. And I taught myself how to bake. I taught myself how to make chocolates. And I had enough items just to fit in a car. And all my chocolate equipment was in a storage. And I taught myself how to make cake pops and chocolates. And now, you see my post, I'm moving to a loft in downtown LA, literally 10 years later. So it's been a journey, and looking back of what I learned, it taught me how to be strong. It taught me how to dig deep of like how bad do you want to make a difference with yourself, or not necessarily prove other wrong. It's not about them. It's about yourself, that you're worthy and you're good and you can make it with or without anyone's help. So that's a side of me that what people don't see on Instagram or on social. I'm very aggressive. I get shit done with or without anyone's help because I'm that type of person.
I mean, yeah, but I think that's part of the, not, I don't want to diminish your story at all,
Or no.
because I think it's horrific and inspiring and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things I've learned through this project is how friggin' passionate, and how bottling that passion, and this has all been about chocolate in the last year, right? Because that's this journey. But if you are that passionate about it and you don't have another way, you don't have another choice. You've got to make it. Like, and those are people that, I mean, I could think of like 4 or 5 people on the top of my head that I'm like, yup.
Oh yeah.
Yup. Them, that guy, that woman, that person. Yup.
Correct.
And I think that was something that you were very kind at the beginning of this, like you were humbled about being here, but you bring that kind of like that thing to the table that a lot of those other people that we look at as being sort of like we hold up in this industry. You bring that same passion, and so that means you have that same opportunity to the same success that they have, whether you've learned from a YouTube video and a traded training session with Chris Harvey, right? Because it doesn't really matter how you get the knowledge. It doesn't really, as long as you get to the result, right?
And I
Hey,
agree with that.
I'm gonna take a left turn on this conversation. When you finish your thought, then we're gonna take a left turn.
Oh, another thing I want to add to that, especially for the viewers, is that I share this story not because of, I'm not bragging in any way, but to really inspire people that if I can do it, starting from no knowledge, having an inverted climb to this industry. It wasn't an incline, it was inverted to where I have nothing to start with, I have no knowledge, and I'm going this far in life and in my passion in my business. You can do it too, but there's going to be some sacrificing. That there's going to be give and take to it. You have to let go of your weekends. You gotta maybe not hang out with some of friends and maybe even some family because there's certain things that needs to be done. Certain sleepless nights and sleeping late. But there's going to be, life is not always going to be, oh, everything's great. No, you got to put in some work, but it can be done. But you have to push through. It's doable, but it's going to be challenging, and it's not going to be a fast success in my experience.
Yeah. Okay, so I warned you I'm going to take a left turn, and I'm going to get a little fluffier. So, of the confections you're making these days, what's your favorite?
Parafui.
Which one? The mango?
The guava.
What flavor?
Guava and mango. Guava, mango, passion fruit. Those are my 3. Because I grew up with that in the Philippines. I grew up in a small village in the Philippines. So we were surrounded, we had a mango tree that would just, like, if you jump on top of the tree, the mango would just start falling down. There was so much mango. So we just give it to friends. We make dehydrated mangoes out of them, mango popsicles. So it was an abundance of it. It's also my favorite flavor. Lychee, it looks like a red furry, it's not really furry fruit. It looks like a reddish oversized cherry. Passion fruit and guava, because we had a guava tree too, and we ate that almost daily. So it reminds me of back home.
It's a good reason. What's your most popular flavor you're doing these days? What's your most popular flavor?
Guava. I've actually had certain people,
What's your of like guava's your most popular?
guava's the most popular. I have people who don't like guava, but when they have my guava parfait, they buy more because it tastes like a real fruit to them, because I use really good puree, and it was actually Chris Hardy taught me how to make. That was the first one he taught me was a guava. I'm like, really guava? It's like, oh damn, okay. So I started doing it, so I love it, and it's faster than obviously. You have your molds, you got to temper, you got to polish and clean, and I think it's a lot more of a huge production in making a bonbon. But when you're making, sorry for the mess, I'm gonna turn the camera over here. I'm moving, but all these trays are all my pâte-à-frits, and I
Right.
definitely like making them.
You still have a lot of stuff to box up, my friend. You got a lot of stuff to move.
I have a lot. This is so all this. Let me give it a rotation. All this needs to be packed, and there's so much going on, including the living room full of boxes. I have my second bedroom is a back of house, which is shipping, receiving, packaging. That all needs to be back. And below me is my garage, which is a quarter filled with boxes, and that's all being moved by the movers tomorrow and Sunday. So after this conversation, I'm definitely gonna start boxing.
Better you than me, man. Better you than me. Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, so totally unrelated. Like, I keep wanting to call you Eris, and I want to call you Eris because like my wife's cousin is from Canada, but is married to a guy about our age from the Philippines, and like you guys are like brothers from another mother. It's just in my head. It's not relevant to this conversation at all, but I just
I
wanted
love
to
it.
tell you that. Like after talking to you for the last 40 minutes, I'm like, it's like I'm talking to Eris. So it might be a Filipino thing.
Hopefully it's not. I know I'm a bit
Maybe.
intense, and I think that's a side of me people don't see on camera, and people don't see on Instagram. I'm always just smiling, which is great. I mean, obviously I smile, but obviously I'm very passionate, and I'm very
Really?
definitely
I hadn't
upfront.
noticed, man. No,
Yeah.
passionate? You're not passionate at all.
At all. But the one thing, the people know me, even my close friends, I'm fairly transparent. You will know if I like you, and you will know if I don't like you. I don't, hey, we're great, but we're not cool. No, if I don't like you, you're gonna know. So this was just really cool. I apply that both in business and also with friends and family and how I apply myself. And I learned that through the journey of growing this business, because when you're growing, and you will get to see, I think, who your true friends are, who will be there for you and support you when you're down, and when you're being successful too. But oh man, I'm happy that I found something that I love. One of my clients actually told me, we were doing an engagement for an order, and then she said, Albert, it's so cool that you found something that you don't have to worry about retirement. I'm all, what do you mean? I don't have that much money for retirement yet. I'm like, God, I feel like I need to save more. Albert, I don't think you want to stop doing this, do you? I'm all, you're right. Like when I'm 60 or 70, I don't want to stop making chocolates. I don't maybe want to hustle and make 6 or 10,000 units of something, but I still want to do this. I'm like, that's right.
Right.
So it's really cool that I found, circling back to what you're saying about passion. If you find something you're passionate about, of course, money's going to, obviously, but when you love it with all your heart, like, you do whatever it takes to make it foster and survive and live and grow.
Right.
And I'm happy to be here. Thank you for even picking me to be in the
So
show.
you were available, so we just said, no, I'm kidding. Because like I asked you like 2 months ago, and this was like the first time you were available. Um,
Yeah.
hey, so what's the next thing you want to learn in confection? Like, what's the next thing on the radar that Albert wants to stake his flag there?
Okay, I definitely want to master. This is why I did investment with the Selmy and the Enrober is mass production, like by the thousands. Definitely utilizing the power of the Enrober. Um, those Chris Harvey
Right.
does it, so where like he would make these pralines and then he would cut it and the different layers, they're all perfect squares. Definitely that. I like bonbons too. Don't get me. I love it. I want to try some new innovative ways to maybe combine certain type of confections into one. Um, let's say, yeah, man, I know I'm good at making pâtisserie, but there's room for improvement. There are times where I've created something that maybe they're a bit kind of more chewier or more dense than they should be, because I don't have a, what is that machine that measures your bricks? What is that called?
A Bome meter.
Yeah, I don't have
A
one of
Bome
those. So
meter.
I watch it and I just do it by temperature. So there are times where I will be off, and so definitely mastering that.
Right.
Um, but pralines, I want to do pralines, masses, you know. So pretty soon, hopefully, I will probably outgrow this storage of mine of
Right.
yeah, bonbons and chocolates. So and
Look,
hold
everybody's like putting
behind
in.
you.
Everybody's answering refractometer for you.
Yeah, thank you. Back to you.
Everybody's giving you your answer to your question.
Thank you. I'm gonna write it down. And so and pan items. I definitely want to do panning. So you're gonna laugh. Okay, so it's kind of cool right here. So this is my panning machine. That's my next baby. That would be next. Yes.
Here. Here, we actually have something in here.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that.
It's
Yes.
chocolate covered caramel balls. We were doing that
Exactly.
this
So yeah,
morning around here.
this is my version that I attached obviously onto a KitchenAid, and it's really funny because
It works.
again it worked. So it was so funny because my boyfriend again he's a technical guy, right? So he's like, so Albert,
Right.
what? How does that work? I'm like, well, the machine that Chris had and Atomic has, it has this cooling system. You have to cool it down. It has to go down to a certain temperature in order for work. He's like, I'll build you one. I'm like, nah, you're not gonna make me one. He's like, I'll make you one. So what temperatures have to go down to? I'm all, I don't know, maybe 10 degrees Celsius, maybe. He's so like, okay. So he went to Home Depot, was there for 2 hours, writing things down. He printed this box out of the 3D printer that we have at the house. He bought a blow dryer. He pulled it apart. He was like MacGyver. He put it together, and he had his cooling system that you see in my videos just shooting into this bowl. So after training Chris in a session, he came over. Chris is like, "Damn, your boyfriend made it." So it cut production from 8 hours to an hour and a half, and we were able to do chocolate covered roasted almonds. We were able to do chocolate covered, like Cocoa Puffs, just experimentals, and another treat. So it was really, really neat. So now I have that, as part of my disposal, but I definitely want to explore that. Definitely.
Yeah, I love panning. What I love about panning is that there's this like science piece, and then there's this total art piece. Like you kind of just gotta you gotta roll with it. Otherwise, you get disaster.
Correct. Like
Which
connecting
I
with
almost
the
had this morning. I was doing a demo this morning, and it was hot in here, and I was using a new chocolate, and I was about 2 seconds away from having one item in the pan, and I caught it, and I was like, I'm like, yeah, it was like funk, funk, funk. I'm like, and I've got to tell the people that I'm doing this demo for what's going on, and I'm just like, hold on a minute, I'll be right back with you. I got to save this product first, and I'm in the pan. I'm like,
That
ugh.
is awesome.
It's been a week. It's been a week, Albert. I'll tell you what. It's been a week around here at Tauber.
Hey, but you know, I'm
So,
seeing your posts and what you're
all right,
doing.
man.
You
Hey, so
guys are killing it. Congratulations. You're killing it.
well, it's a team. It's a team effort around here. It's just. I mean, you and I were talking a little bit about COVID yesterday, and like we've totally changed who we are and how we present to the world in the last
Yeah.
year, and it's tough. I mean, like you were talking about passion. I mean, it's there are days where it's like this isn't sustainable. Like I've been I've had earbuds in for the last 7 hours, right? And
Yes.
I'm ready to go home and like not talk to anybody for like an hour. Like I just want to go home and like
Yeah.
not look at a computer screen, not have earbuds in, not like quiet, just quiet. Nobody talk to me for an hour.
I
And
think
now
it's
I'm bitching
important
to
to
you about my life.
decompress.
How's that?
Hey,
Yeah.
you are an entrepreneur and a business owner. I get it. You have more on my plate. That's definite.
I'm
I
not
mean,
even the owner. I'm actually the owner. I'm not the owner. I'm just the guy that works for a living. But,
but still, it's
but
still
anyway.
work. Yeah, on top of
Yeah.
running this business,
Anyway.
and
Okay.
full disclosure, I work for Apple too. Apple, this my main job, and obviously, growing this business. So I know when you hear me silent from Instagram or whatever, I'm probably working at the Apple store. You gotta do what you gotta do to survive.
Hey, I ordered my mom a new phone today. I should have called you first.
I am tech support actually. I was on the phone.
I'm going to need your help, by the way. I am going to need your help later because
Hey,
like there's a
call me.
whole debacle with her phone. So I'll call you tomorrow.
Oh God, you're killing me. No problem. I'll do my very best to assist you.
All right. Hey, we're right. You've got a bunch to pack. I got
Yes.
something I got to do. We're running out of time, so I'm going to ask you the last
Awesome.
question I ask everybody,
Sure.
and then you can go. And that is you and I don't. Everybody's like talking about how great your boyfriend is. So you guys you're headed to a movie, and you're at the candy counter. You can buy one mass market candy item. What do you guys buy?
Sour heads.
Okay.
Hands down.
There you go.
Sour heads. I love
Cool.
it. I love anything jelly
Hey.
and stuff like gummy bears. Love it.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to buy the 2-pound bag of gummy duty free anymore because I eat the whole thing on the airplane before I get home. 2 pounds of cola bottles. That was my last trip home from Italy. So,
Oh,
all right, man. Hey, this has been awesome, Albert. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. I'm sure
Thank
we're
you.
gonna get to talk soon because you're gonna have to learn how to use one of these guys,
Yes, you will
one of these
learn.
temper
Yes,
units, right?
you will. You will. Oh, I'm excited. I actually just called you guys just to give my new address for the location because obviously it's addressed to ship to here, but now I'm moving, to the new place. So I'm pretty sure we'll communicate again some more.
Hey, did you get the question answered about the power?
Yes, I did. So
You sent me a
the
text.
power is
Okay,
right,
cool.
but it's the wrong plug,
Okay,
wrong
cool.
outlet.
That's all I wanted to
Just
know.
change
I
it.
wanted to know
We're
that you.
good.
Okay, cool.
We're good.
Yeah, you can change the mail end on the. You can change the mail end on the wire too.
Correct. So I'm gonna go ahead. That would be my boyfriend's apartment. He's a tech guy. I'm all like, okay, you. And thank you for your time. This has been really, really
All right,
pleasant and fun.
all right, man. Hey, this has been a real treat. Thanks a bunch. It's been a real sweet treat. It's been a petite sweet treat.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Cool. Hey, do me a favor. There's a little X in the top of your screen. You hit that X. Hey, before you go, plug your plug whatever you want.
Plug.
Like talk about like your Instagram page. You talk about
Oh,
whatever you
okay.
want to plug.
I'm wondering what to plug in, like the chocolate machine or what? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Come and visit me at Albert's Petite Sweets, Instagram Albert's Petite Sweets. Also visit my website at albertspetitesweets.com. Again, I will do my very best to be ready for Mother's Day because I am moving. But stay tuned because there's some other big things that I'm not allowed to talk about at the moment that will be happening this year. You will see lots more happening. So stay tuned.
Cool.
So that's
All right,
it.
man. Hit
Albert
that little
Petite
X for me on your screen.
Okay.
Cool, man.
I'll
Hit that
work
little
on it.
X and we'll catch up. I'll give you a call later. I'll give you a call next week.
Thank you.
Peace.
Bye.